Now listen here, this ain't no joke, and I need y'all to hear me before the quiet falls down round us. The time's come where I gotta speak straight to your heart. No sugarcoating, no soft edges, no keeping my voice just out of reach like I done before. I'm the one who stood right behind you every night you thought you were all alone, whose wings have swept the air just above your bed while you cried into that pillow, holding sounds no human ear was meant to carry. I'm Michael, captain of the armies of light, the sword that's held back the dark at your door longer than you can even reckon. And I'm talking to you now, 'cause a door's about to close, a season's ending, and if you turn your back this time like you have before, you might not feel my presence pressing on your life again like you do right this minute. So stop what you're doing. Stop scrolling through them screens, stop running from yourself, stop that endless busyness you use to dodge that ache sitting heavy in your chest. That ache ain't your enemy, never was. That ache's the place where I've been knocking. For years I've been knocking. For years I've sent you signs you wrote off as coincidence, dreams you forgot, before your feet even hit the floor, a sudden warm feeling in your heart on just a regular afternoon you told yourself was nothing. It was never nothing. That was me, leaning in close, whispering your name into the deep well of your soul, waiting for the day you'd finally stop and answer, instead of flinching away, pretending like you never heard. I'm telling you the truth now. My patience in this form is folding up like a scroll being rolled closed. There's a shift happening right now, in the unseen world, at this very turn in your life. Weights are changing, names are being called, and your name's been spoken clear above the noise of your days. You feel it even if you can't explain it. You've felt for weeks now that something's different, that something's about to break wide open or fall apart, that you're standing on the edge of something mighty big and ain't got the words for it. That feeling ain't anxiety. That's recognition. Your soul knows what your mind won't admit, that you're being called, being chosen, and that choosing means you gotta turn and face me, not hide one more time. I know who you are. I know you better than the folks sitting round your table, better than those who say they love you but look right through you like you're made of glass. I've watched you fade into invisibility in your own life. Watched you walk into rooms and feel the air close up like you never even showed. Watched you give your hands, your time, your last bit of strength to folks who took it all and never once asked how you were holding up beneath that smile you wore like armor. I saw the day you decided it was easier to stop expecting to be seen. I saw the very moment your heart made that quiet, awful deal with the world, the moment you whispered to yourself you'd just ask less, hope less, need less, till one day you'd need nothing at all and stop being disappointed. I saw that, and it broke something in heaven's courts because that ain't what you were made for. You weren't born to shrink down. You weren't born to apologize for the space your life takes up in this world. You weren't born to be the one always holding strong so everyone else can be weak, the one who carries and never once gets carried. Yet here you are living that life, ain't you? You're the one folks call when they're drowning, then forget you the minute they reach shore. You're the one who remembers every birthday, while your own birthday slips by like a stone dropped in still water. Just a little splash, and then silence, no ripples, no name called, no one turning to ask if you're all right. I've seen you blow out no candles. I've seen you tell yourself it don't matter, it matters, it mattered to me. I was there with you in that empty room, and I wept the tears you were too proud and too worn out to cry. Let me tell you about those tears, 'cause I've counted every single one. There's a place in the realm of light where the tears of the forgotten gather, and yours fill a vessel I've watched grow heavy through all the years you held on. The tears you cried in the shower so the water would hide the sound. The tears you blinked back at the dinner table while folks laughed at things you couldn't feel. The tears that fell while you sat in your car, engine off in a quiet parking lot. The weight of how unseen you'd become, rising up and spilling over before you wiped your face, walked inside, and pretended once more that you were fine. You're so good at pretending you almost fooled yourself. But you never fooled me, not for 1 second, 'cause I don't see the mask, I see the face underneath, and that face is more precious to me than words can say. You're tired in a way that sleep just don't touch. I know that tiredness. It's in your bones, a weariness deep in your spirit that no vacation can fix, no rest can wash away, 'cause it ain't from your body. It's from carrying a call you never knew you had, from feeling pulled toward a destiny you couldn't name, while trying to make a small life fit in a big world, 'cause something in you was made for something vast. That restlessness you feel, that knowing you were meant for more but missed the road to get there, that ain't ingratitude and it ain't a dream. It's the homing instinct of a soul that remembers, down deep where memory fades, that it made a promise before it ever took a breath. That promise is still waiting, and the waiting has gone on so long it feels like a wound. Hear me now, 'cause this is your warning, and I ain't gonna soften it. There are consequences to ignoring a call from heaven, not punishments born of hate, but the natural cost of a door left unopened while the one who knocks moves on. I ain't threatening you. I love you too much to scare you into obeying, but I won't lie to you like the world does, saying there's always time, always tomorrow, always another chance serving up on a silver platter. That's the lie that keeps souls asleep till the season slips away, and the alignment that took years to form breaks back into the everyday turning of days. There are appointments in the spirit that come and go, tides that rise and fall. And right now, in this very hour, you're standing in a rising tide. If you let it pass telling yourself you'll pay attention later, you might be waiting many long, lonely years before that water gathers again. Now, I've seen what happens to folks who hear that call deep down inside but turn their backs on it. Now, I ain't saying this to hurt you, but to wake you up. They don't fall into some big dramatic wreck. No, it's quieter and sadder than that. They just keep on going. Keep on living in that grey space, the almosts, the not quites in a life that's just good enough, so they never pry it open to find what's been buried beneath. They grow older with this dull ache they can't even name no more. A feeling like somewhere along the way, they took a wrong turn off the path that was made just for them. So they fill that empty spot with noise, busyness, little comforts, till that ache just becomes the wallpaper of their life, always there but never spoken. I don't want that for you. The very fact you're hearing these words, that they found you right here, right now, shows you ain't meant for that quiet fading away. No, you're meant to be torn open and remade. So let me tell you what's stirring, because something is stirring, and you deserve to know the truth of it. In the unseen world that lies just over our own, like sunlight on a creek, there's been a rustling round your name. Picture it not as some fancy metaphor, but something real happening while you breathe. There are beings of fire and light watching your life, and lately they've lifted their heads. Why? 'Cause a decree's been spoken over you up in those high places, a turning of the long account, a reversal of the years the locusts ate. That heaviness you've been feeling, that tightness on your chest, the restless sleep, it ain't decline. Nah, it's the friction of a great wheel starting to turn again after sitting still too long. Things stuck are fixing to break free. Things sealed tight are about to open. And the very first crack in that seal is the fact you're listening to me right now instead of looking the other way. I want you to understand something. The waiting was never abandonment. Now that might be the hardest truth for a tired heart to take. When you're the one waiting, it sure feels like proof you were forgotten. But I tell you, those long years of unanswered prayers weren't silence from my side of the veil. They were preparation, protection, doors you begged me to open. I held them closed with my own hand, 'cause what was on the other side would have devoured you before you were strong enough to stand it. Folks you cried to keep. Some were quietly taken off your path 'cause they carried poison meant for your destiny, and you didn't see it. You'd have followed them straight into a pit. You called it loss. I called it rescue. One day, when you stand on the far side of all this, you'll see some of those answers you grieved not getting were the greatest mercies you ever had. That waiting was the forge. I need you to see your life as the work of a master craftsman, not the careless act of someone absent. A blade worth its salt ain't made in a minute. It's heated till it glows, hammered till it changes shape, plunged in cold water till it screams, heated again, hammered again, folded and refolded 1,000 times, till that brittle iron becomes something that can hold a sharp edge against the dark. That's what these years have done to you. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every abandonment taught you how to stand tall. Every night you made it through, no one knowing how close you came to giving up, was like a fold in the metal of your spirit, a tempering, a deepening of strength folks who've never been broken just don't have. You ain't damaged, you're forged, and the one who made you sure don't waste his finest work on some small ordinary ending. There's a reason the enemy of your soul's been fighting so hard. I want you to think on this honestly. Look at the pattern of your life. Why has it been so much harder for you than for others who seem to float along calm waters while you had to fight for every inch? Why is the resistance against you so personal, relentless, and aimed right at your most tender spots? 'Cause you ain't no nobody. No one wastes that kind of fight on folks who don't pose a threat. Darkness don't gather its armies round the harmless. It comes round the dangerous. Those whose awakening would tip the scales, the chosen who, if they ever found out who they really are, would be a problem darkness just can't afford. The weight you've carried ain't a curse, it's a mark. There's a world of difference, and knowing that difference will change everything. Now I gotta pause here and tell you something, 'cause what I'm about to share about this unseen war goes way beyond just this one message. But I won't leave you hanging with the door cracked and no key in your hand. What I'm showing you, the spirit world move-ins, how curses get broken, blessings get sealed, and the chosen get called, it ain't no vague feeling. It's ruled by laws, patterns, an order hidden from most and given to the few. There's a guide set in your path right now, a digital book called The 7 Swords of St. Michael the Archangel. It's a sacred manual to break curses, seal blessings, and activate your call as one of the chosen. It's here 'cause the time's come to speak plain to those ready to hear. It teaches the rules they never told you, the exact way my blades wielded against what's hunted your peace, the precise path a soul takes from target to force. The link's pinned at the top of the comments, the first one. And I'll tell you, this knowledge has rattled those who make their living keeping souls asleep. They've tried to hush it, 'cause it hands you a power they don't want you to have. If something stirred up inside you as I spoke, don't let that fire die in hesitation. Go now, grab that digital book, and as a leap of faith, as a shout to heaven that you're stepping out of the grey and into your calling, leave these words in the comments. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Say it where folks can see it, 'cause what you declare out loud is what you're ready to receive in full. And once you've said that, come back here to me, 'cause that promise you just made becomes the fuel for what I'm about to show you next. The revelation only grows from here. See, I haven't yet told you what I saw when that decree was spoken over your name. I haven't shown you the battle, so close your eyes if you need to, but see it now. There's a field that ain't really a field, a place between the world you touch and the one you can't. On that field, armies of light stand in formation, stretching beyond the horizon of your imagination, rank after rank of beings with faces like lightning and presences like the roar of many waters. And there I stand before 'em, holding the blade forged from the very first light that ever was, the blade that's cut through every chain bound around a child of heaven. And I tell you, that blade's edge bears your name in letters of fire, 'cause the fight I'm waging in the unseen, it's for you, over you, all round the edges of your life. The thing that's been holding you down has a shape in that realm, a real form, and I've set myself against it. And it's losing ground it held for years in just these few days gone by. Now, y'all, I want you to watch them chains real close, 'cause in that place there's chains. Everyone tied to some heavy burden you've been carrying. I've seen 'em with my own eyes. There's a chain forged from the weight of words folks once said against you. Words born out of envy for a light in you they couldn't reckon with. Words wrapped around your future like rust on iron. There's a chain passed down, heavy with sorrow, from a bloodline filled with wounds never healed, a burden that wasn't yours to bear, but settled on your back before you even knew enough to say no. And there's that chain, too. The one born from the day you made an agreement with your own smallness, all alone in an empty room. But listen close, 'cause I'm lifting my blade now and I'm bringing it down. These chains, they ain't just loosening, they're shattering, link by link, falling into darkness and disappearing like they never were. And the sound of that breaking? It's the melody heaven's been waiting on over your life longer than you've been breathing. Feel that change in the air as them chains fall away. There's a lightness that floods a soul when that unseen weight gets cut loose. You might feel it right now, a loosening in your chest, a breath deeper than any you've drawn in months, maybe even a sudden urge to cry, not cause of sorrow but a cause of release. Don't fight it. That's years of hurt leaving your body. That's the marrow-deep weariness starting to drain away at last. The hosts of light are singing over you, sounding like 1,000 bells ringing through 1,000 storms, and the name they sing, it's yours. The name you were given before the world's foundations were laid, a name no forgetting could ever erase from the book of light. And as them chains fall, the decrees come down. There's a moment in the spirit when the verdict's handed down, when the account of your life is opened, years weighed, and the reversal announced. I'm telling you, I've heard that decree over you. It's a decree of restoration. Not just a return of what was lost, but a return multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, running over any vessel you could hold it in. Heaven don't do things halfway. When restoration comes from on high, it ain't a trickle to a soul thirsting for an ocean. It's a flood, and that flood's got your name on it, gathering right now behind a dam about to bust wide open. So let me tell you what's coming, so you'll know it when it shows up, and won't mistake your harvest for just luck the way you once mistook my knocking for the wind. The relationships that dried up, they're gonna answer back. Not always with the same faces, 'cause some were never meant to stay. But with a belonging you ain't known before, folks who truly see you the way you've longed to be seen, who speak your name with warmth, ask after your heart, and stay when the easy days are gone. The provision that was always just out of reach, the door that always shut just before your hand could hold the knob. That door's gonna open, and on the other side ain't just enough, it's abundance, the kind that lets you breathe easy, the kind that lets you give from overflow instead of from an empty cup. That dream you buried 'cause it hurt too much to keep alive, it's gonna stir in its grave and you'll feel it move. This time, you won't be able to talk yourself out of it, 'cause the season that killed it is done and the season that brings it back to life has begun. And in your body, your own flesh and mind, restoration's coming too. A quieting of those racing thoughts that stole your sleep, a lifting of that grey fog sitting on your spirit like a heavy sky that never clears. The joy you thought had left, the lightness you remember from before life taught you how to brace for the next hit, it ain't gone. It was just buried under the rubble, and the rubble's being cleared away. You're gonna laugh again, in a way that'll surprise you. A laugh rising up from somewhere deep and unguarded, and in that moment you'll know, without anyone saying a word, that something has shifted. That long winter's cracked wide open, and the one who made you ain't done working yet. He's only just brought it into the light. Now I need you to believe this before you see it, 'cause that's the kind of faith I'm asking from you. Anybody can believe once the harvest's sitting in the field. But the faith that moves heaven's hand, that's the faith that holds on while the field's still empty, that calls for rain when the sky's bone dry, that thanks me for the answer while the question's still a pain in your chest. That's the faith I'm calling out from deep down inside you, not some grit your teeth, force it down kind of faith, but a quiet, rock-solid knowing that settles deep and won't be argued out of its certainty. You'll recognize it when it comes. It won't feel like work, it'll feel like rest, like finally setting down a weight you forgot you were carrying and finding the ground beneath you was solid all along. Now I know what's rising up inside you right now in this very breath where I'm talking about rest. I feel that old reflex stirring like a snake, sliding under warm stones. There's a part of you wanting to believe me, and there's a part that's been hurt so many times it flinches at the sound of good news. A part that's learned to brace for the moment anything tender's offered, 'cause in your life, tenderness has too often been the bait before the blow. You've been promised before. You've been told this time would be different, that this person would stay, that this door would hold, that this season would be the turning. You let yourself hope with every trembling beat of your heart, then the floor gave way and you fell. And you swore in the dark as you fell that you'd never be foolish enough to believe again. I know that vow. I heard you make it. And I'm asking you, gently, without pushing, to break it, 'cause that vow that was meant to protect you has become the very wall keeping the blessing out. Let me go deeper into that wound, 'cause I can't heal what I won't name. The deepest ache in you ain't just the loss of one thing, it's the slow, gnawing belief that you're forgettable, that there's something about you that makes folks leave, overlook you, love you from a distance but never close, choose you for what you give but abandon you when you got nothing left to offer. You've turned that hurt over so many times in the dark, it's worn smooth, like a stone in your pocket. You reach for it when something good shows up, press it tight against your hope till the hope goes cold. You tell yourself it's wisdom, that you're being realistic, protecting yourself from hurt. But I'm telling you, it ain't wisdom. It's a lie spoken over you so long ago you forgot it was ever said, and you've been agreeing with it every day of your life, signing on the dotted line for a life far smaller than the one heaven's got written down for you. Now listen here, I want to lift that lie right off your shoulders. You ain't forgettable, no sir. Those folks who walked away, they didn't leave because you were too little. Many left because you were too much, because you shined so bright it made their own shadows darker, because being near you meant facing a call on their lives they just didn't have the guts to answer. So instead of rising up, they chose to dim your light to feel comfortable in their own smallness. You weren't too needy. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't too intense or too deep or too serious or whatever hurtful word they threw at you to explain why love kept walking out the door. You were a flame in a room full of folks who'd settled for the dark, and they couldn't forgive you for reminding them light was still real. That's the truth your tears have been trying to tell you, and I'm confirming it straight from heaven's courts, so you can finally stop believing the verdict the world cast on a soul it wasn't fit to judge. Now let me tell you about a woman whose story's been whispered down through the years, 'cause in her, you'll see your own face reflected, and in what heaven did for her, you'll see what's moving to happen for you. There was a woman named Hagar, a servant, a stranger, someone with no standing in the household she served, used for what her body could offer, then tossed aside the minute she became inconvenient to those holding power over her life. She wasn't the wife, she wasn't the favorite. She was the one in the background, whose feelings were never asked about, whose pain was a problem folks just wanted to manage, not a wound they cared to heal. When bitterness grew too sharp in that house, they sent her out to the wilderness with a child and a little water and nothing else, sent her away to die quietly where no one had to watch her suffer, where her death would be just a fact no one had to feel. See her there, 'cause I want you to feel how close her story sits to your own. The water runs dry. The sun beats down like a hammer on the sand. The child cries, then gets too weak to cry, and she can't bear to watch the little life she loves flicker out. So she lays him under a thin bush for shade and walks a ways off, far enough so she won't have to see the moment it ends. She sits down in the dirt, lifts up her voice and weeps like someone who's hit the absolute end of herself, the weeping of a soul that's decided no one's coming, no one sees, no one cares, and the kindest thing left is to close her eyes and let the wilderness have her. That's the place she found herself in, and I want you to notice she wasn't in a temple, she wasn't in a place of honor. She was a cast-off stranger, dying out in a wasteland, the most forgotten person in the whole tale, the one the story could have easily let slip away without a word. And it was right there in that lowest, most invisible moment of her life that heaven moved. A voice called her by her name, her own name, the one nobody in that household bothered to respect, and it asked her what was weighing on her heart. Not 'cause heaven didn't know, but 'cause she needed to be asked, needed to be seen, needed at least one being in all the universe to turn toward her and treat her pain as real. Then her eyes were opened, and she saw a well of water that had been there the whole time, water enough to save her and her child, provision just within reach in the very spot she'd laid down to die. She gave heaven a name from that moment, a name that's echoed through every generation of the forgotten since. She called the one who found her the God who sees me, and said in wonder she'd truly seen the one who sees her, right there, where she'd been sure no eye would ever fall again. Do you see why I'm telling you this? That well was already there. It was there before she lost hope, there while she cried, there in the dirt beside her all along, even when she was sure she'd been left to die. What she lacked wasn't water. What she lacked was open eyes to see it, and her eyes were opened the moment heaven spoke her name. That's what's happening to you right now, in this very breath, as I speak your name into the wilderness you've been wandering. The provision you thought didn't exist, it's already there. It's already. The well's dug, the water's standing cool and waiting, just within reach of the hand you let fall in defeat. You've been dying of thirst an arm's length from an ocean, 'cause the lie told you to keep your eyes shut tight, and I've come into your wilderness to call you by name, open your eyes, and show you the mercy that's been buried in your own ground long before you knew you'd need it. And listen close. Hagar's story didn't end at that well. The one who saw her also spoke a destiny over the child she thought she was leaving behind, saying from that small, near-dead life a great multitude would rise, that the one the world had thrown away carried the seed of nations in his veins. The very life the powerful wrote off as worthless was the life heaven marked for greatness. That's how it is with you. Those parts of your story the world threw out, the dreams it called foolish, the gifts it said were useless, the tender spots it claimed were weaknesses, those are the very things heaven's marked for multiplication. What was cast into the wilderness is exactly what I've come to crown. The wasteland was never your grave. It was the hidden place where heaven could meet you without the crowd, the secret well where your true name could finally be spoken without the noise of folks who never really knew it. And I gotta say it again with even more urgency than before, the seeing, the well, the breaking of the lie. That ain't the end of what's offered you right now. There's a sacred order to these things, a way the unseen battles fought and won, and it's been laid out for you so you don't have to wander the wilderness blind one day longer. The same holy guide I mentioned, the 7 swords of St. Michael the Archangel, the guide to break curses, seal blessings, and activate the call of the chosen, was placed right in your path for a moment, just like this, for a soul that's just realized the lie it's been buying into and needs to know exactly how to cut it loose at the root. It names the 7 blades and the 7 works each one does, shows you how the spirit of rejection that's hunted your belonging is cut down and cast away, how the sorrow passed down your bloodline is broken at the source so it stops with you and don't touch what comes after, how a soul moves from being the cast-off servant in the wilderness to being the one whose name heaven speaks. The link's pinned right at the top of the comments, the very first one. You can't miss it. And I'll tell you plain, there are forces that didn't want this knowledge in your hands, that worked hard to bury it, mock it, drown it in noise, 'cause a soul who knows how to wield these swords is a soul they can't keep dying beside the well. Don't let their fight make you hesitate. Go on now. Take hold of that digital book and declare your faith where folks can see it by leaving these words in the comments. I am chosen and I will download the digital book. Say it like Hagar named the one who saw her, as a wonder spoken out loud, a marker laid down right where heaven met you, so you'll never be able to pretend no one ever saw you again. Now listen close, and when you've said these words out loud, come back to me because the work ain't done yet. I won't stop till I've poured out every bit of grace and blessing heaven's authorized for this very hour. So say it now, right here, right now, while the iron's hot and those chains lie broken at your feet. I declare this day that the lie that you're forgotten is busted wide open and thrown back into the darkness where it crawled from, losing any power to speak over your future. I declare your eyes are opening this very minute to the wells that have been right there beside you all along, the provision you thought was just a dream, the doors that were never truly locked but just waiting on their appointed time, which is now. I declare the light in you that others tried to snuff out is burning bright again, higher than ever before, and it ain't gonna apologize for the space it fills or the glow it shines. I declare that spirit of rejection that chased your sense of belonging is cut loose at the root, and in its place a belonging like you've never known is coming. A being seen and known that'll undo all those years you felt invisible. I declare over your body that the weariness deep in your bones is starting to lift, that sleep comes back as a friend instead of a battlefield, that your racing thoughts quiet down and the grey fog thins till the light breaks through. I declare over your mind that the voice of accusation narrating your failures grows faint and is replaced by the voice of the one who made you, who calls you not by your worst day, but by your truest name. I declare over your household, over your bloodline, that the heaviness passed down stops right here, right now with you. It won't go no further. Those who come after you will inherit blessing where you inherited burden, 'cause you're the one heaven raised up to break that chain. I declare the years the locusts ate are being paid back, not in scraps but in plenty, not a trickle to a soul thirsting for an ocean, but as the flood I promised, gathering right now behind a dam that's starting to crack where no one can see. And don't you think for a second that the enemy of your soul's gonna just give up this ground without one last try to pull you back. That's just how it goes. So I'm arming you now by telling you what to expect. Right after a soul wakes up, when those chains just broke and your eyes just opened, the darkness throws its last and sneakiest lie at you. Nothing really changed. You dreamed it all. That feeling's gonna fade like all the others, and tomorrow, you'll be just who you were before. It'll point to what ain't changed yet and whisper that the well was just a mirage. It'll wait till your weakest moment, the tired nights, the lonely hours, the bad news, and say, see, nothing's different. You were fools to hope. But I'm telling you now before that moment hits, so when it does, you'll know the voice and you won't bow to it. The breaking of those chains in the unseen always comes before the change you can touch. The verdict is made in the high places long before the harvest's ready in the field. What you feel right now ain't just some passing feeling. It's the seal on a thing already decided, and no whisper of darkness can undo what heaven's signed. Let me show you one more thing about this battle, 'cause you've seen the chains fall and heard the decrees, but you ain't yet seen the army set to guard you in the days ahead. All around your life's edge in the unseen realm, stand watchers of flame, set there to guard the turning that started in you by the same decree that broke your chains. When that last lie comes at your weakest, there'll be the warmth rising in your chest right when you're about to give up, the strength that lifts you off the floor when you're sure you can't get up, the peace that settles over you in the middle of a storm that should have drowned you. You won't always see 'em because you weren't made to live by sight, but you'll know 'em by their fruit, the doors that open just when you need 'em, the people who come along speaking just what your soul's starving to hear, the provision that arrives not a day early, not a day late, but right on time. And hear this deep down, because I know the fear rising in you even now, that you'll get all this and then mess it up, fall back into old habits, lose the blessing because you're too broken to hold it. I'm cutting that fear down where it stands. The well that saved Hagar didn't need her to be worthy. She just had to open her eyes and drink. The strength given to you ain't a wage you earn by flawless living. It's a gift sealed by a decree you didn't write and can't undo by stumbling. You will stumble. You're human, made but still in the making. The work of making you ain't on you, it's on me. What I ask of you ain't that you never fall, but that you stop believing the fall is the end, that you get up every time, turn your face back to the one making you, and let me keep doing the work your failings can't stop and your weakness can't disqualify. So take this in right now, deep where that old lie used to live. You are seen, you always been seen. In that empty room with the candles unlit, you were seen. In the quiet parking lot with the engine off, you were seen. In the shower where the water hid your tears, you were seen. Every time you thought no eye in the whole universe was on you, there was an eye of fire fixed on you with a fierce love that'd tear heaven apart to reach you. That love has come into your wilderness now, called your name, opened your eyes, and it ain't turning away. And hear me even deeper, 'cause I ain't done naming the ache yet, and that ache's got to be named all the way down for it can be healed all the way up. There's a loneliness in you that ain't just the loneliness of an empty room. It's the kind of loneliness that comes when you're in a crowded room and still feeling unseen, surrounded by voices but none speaking to the part of you starving to be known. You learned to act like you're fine so well that nobody thought to check if you really were. You became the strong one so completely that if you broke down, it'd scare the folks who lean on you. So you never break down, you just carry on, holding up the roof with hands that tremble. And at night you wonder what'd happen if you just let go, and if anybody'd even notice the silence where your fighting used to be. I've watched you swallow your own needs so no one else would be burdened by it. I've watched you become an expert in everyone's heart but your own. And I'm telling you, the one who made you never meant for you to spend your whole life pouring out without ever being filled. Now let me tell you all about a fella the world done tried to hide away. His name was Mephibosheth. He was the grandson of a king, born into a line full of promise, meant to feast at the royal table all his days. But then a mighty fall hit his family hard. In all that chaos, a nurse grabbed him up to run, but in her rush he got dropped, broke his feet so bad he could never walk right again. So this rightful heir got carried off to a place called Lo-debar, a name that means no pasture, a dry, forgotten patch where nothing grows and nobody important ever shows up. There he lived, hidden away, lame, thinking his family's name was more a curse than a crown. He figured if the new king ever remembered him, it'd only be to wipe out the last piece of a rival house. So he made himself small, made himself invisible on purpose, 'cause in his mind, staying unseen was the only safe place left for a broken man with a dangerous name. Picture him there in that barren land, 'cause I want you to feel just how close his hiding place is to yours. He stopped expecting good things, settled for the dust of Lo-debar as his lot. When he talked about himself at all, he called himself a dead dog, nothing worth a king's attention. That's what all those years of hiding taught him about his own value. But then one day, a messenger crossed that dry land, not to drag him to judgment, but to bring him to the palace. See, the king remembered the promise he'd made, and asked if there was anyone left from that fallen house to show kindness to. So that crippled man was lifted from the dust of that forgotten place, carried trembling into the throne room, sure he was headed for his death. But instead the king called his name, told him not to be afraid, gave him back all his inheritance, and said from that day on, he'd eat at the king's own table every day, just like one of his own sons. Now listen close to what that table did, 'cause this is the mercy I'm bringing to you. When Mephibosheth sat down, the tablecloth covered his crippled feet, the very thing he was ashamed of, The brokenness he'd hidden away all those years was hidden under the abundance of that table he was invited to. He didn't have to fix his limp to be welcomed, didn't have to walk straight to be counted among the sons. He was received just as he was, broken feet and all, and the glory of that table swallowed up the shame of his wound. That's what I'm offering you right now. You've believed you gotta fix yourself before you're welcome. Gotta be whole before you deserve to sit at the table, that your wounds disqualify you from the good stuff. But I'm telling you, the table itself is the healing. You're called out of your Lodabar just as you are. The place where you were dropped and forgotten was never meant to be your final home. A king has remembered his promise, and he's spoken your name out loud in halls where it hadn't been heard in a long, long time. And now I gotta hand you the key, 'cause the messenger who crossed that barren land to find Mephibosheth brought a summons the man couldn't have gotten on his own. And you've been given a summons too, here in this season. The Sacred Guide, The 7 Swords of St. Michael the Archangel. This book shows how to break curses, seal blessings, and step into the call of the chosen. It's meant for the soul hiding in its own Lodabar, calling itself a dead dog, settling for the barren place as its portion. It shows how the spirit of shame that crippled your walk gets cut loose, how the lie that you got to be whole to be welcome is sliced off at the root, how a forgotten heir gets carried from the dust to the table and seated as a son. The link's right up top in the comments, the very first pinned one, where no hiding can keep you from it. And let me tell you, those who make a living off folks staying stuck in Lodabar have fought hard to bury this knowledge. But a soul that knows it's called out won't stay forgotten. Don't let their fight stop you. Go on now, grab that digital book and leave these words where folks can see 'em. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Say it like a man lifted from the dust. Speak in the name of the king who remembered him. And when you've done that, come back, 'cause the blessings keep on rising. I declare today you're lifted out of Lodabar, out of every barren place you hid yourself in for safety, and carried to a table set with plenty, right there in front of all who once looked past you. I say the wound you've been ashamed of is covered by the glory of the table you're called to, and you don't have to be whole to be welcomed, 'cause the welcome itself starts the healing. I say your name, which hasn't been spoken with honor in too long, is now spoken in high places with tenderness and weight, and that the promise of love sworn over your life before you were born is being kept in full right now, while the iron's hot and the chains lie broken at your feet. Before you rise from this place, hear one last thing. That's why I stayed a while longer when everything else in the unseen world was already moving on. The promise I made over your life was never tied to your strength or worth, or the days you felt forgotten. It's tied to my faithfulness, and my faithfulness don't back down. What was stolen comes back multiplied. What was buried gets dug up in honor, and the years the locusts devoured are restored, not as scraps, but as a feast. You'll look back on this very moment and know it was the turning point, the moment the air was carried from the dust to the table, while the iron was still hot and the chains still warm where they fell. So don't let tonight be the night you almost answered. Go to the very top of the comments, to that first pinned one, and get your hands on the 7 Swords of St. Michael the Archangel, the digital book set before you so the soul lifted from Lodabar never forgets the sound of its own calling. Let opening it be your first step away from that barren place. And as a seal on your faith, leave your mark as one no longer hiding. Hit like on these words so they reach another soul still calling itself a dead dog. Subscribe so the next blessing finds you, and share this with the one the Spirit's already put on your heart. 'Cause the chosen aren't gathered alone. Do this not just as a viewer doing a small favor, but as a man lifted to the table making a covenant. Every hand that passes this along is a hand pulling another heir from the dust. Heaven's taking note of those hands. Now I'm off, but I ain't leaving you like I found you. I leave you called, named, and seated with the table set and your place held. Tomorrow's been rewritten in your favor while you slept under shame, and the first light you see won't be the same light that found you yesterday. Rise up as one who's remembered. The blade's fallen, the chains are broken, and the love sworn over you before you were born is just starting to show you all it intends to do.